Hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Degrassism, and this time it's a big one. It's the top 20 characters based on the letter of the alphabet. Now, I have the original post, if I can get to it. So, inspired by the alphabet game they did about the Degrassi quotes and all that, I decided to throw myself into the conversation by having the best Degrassi character by letter in history. So that's what I did. I threw myself into it with letters of the alphabet and all that. So what ended up happening was that there were a few um, letters that actually I decided to make a change on and all that. There were no characters with the letter N, although I was told Nadia would be one. There was none that had the letter Q, but I changed it to Q for quite the character, Sean. And then with no U, I'm like, well, U for understandably depressed Maya. And X for extremely went downhill Raditch because there was no X. And then I went with no fee for character. That got me to do 4 polls of 6. And basically, if you won the poll, you would be getting yourself into the 1 to 4 poll. Like you would be guaranteed a top 4 spot on the list. 5 to 8 would be second. 9 to 12 would be third. 13 to 16 would be your fourth, and your fifth, 17 to 20th. There were, of course, 4 that missed the cut and all that. But yeah, I will tell you about that, and then you'll see everything. Like you'll see the thought process and the randomization to know that it was random, and I had no, like the polls were not automatically created; they were just random and all that. So enjoy that part now. Hey there, Heather. Hello there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. So basically, this is the proof positive that I will be randomizing the alphabet game A to Z, and then you see Ashley, Becky, Claire, Darcy, Emma, Fiona, Goldie, Holly, J, Imogen, JT, Katie, Liberty, Manny, no character, Owen, Page, and then quite the character, Sean, Rick, Spinner, Terry, understandably depressed, Maya, no character, Phoebe, Winston, W, extremely went downhill, Radish, Yale, and Zoe. So yeah, I cheated for a few of them and tried to match it because, like, dude, S was hard with Spinner and Sean. R with Rick and Radish. A lot of people probably would say, why Rick? Well, it's most memorable character. It doesn't have anything to do with liking character, all that. And of course, M is with Manny and Maya. Manny's a feather. So that's why I put those guys in there. Jimmy just lost out. I feel so bad Jimmy didn't get it. But what was I do? 24. And you know how they give 6 options and all that. So I'm going to be random.orging 1 to 26 and see what the sequence is. I'll format in 4 columns because then I know the 1, 2, 3. Here we go. All right, so it's DQIO, DQIO, FZ, FX. So wait, if it's okay, so no characters 14 and 22. Yeah, 14, 22. Write that down. My hand. Okay, so 14 or 22. So 7 is G. It goes to the second one. So it's G, B. Now 22 is Phi, which doesn't have a letter. So that means that's out. ESP. ESP. And the last one is T. Okay, and then number 3 will be A, YHR. YHR. 21 U N N's taken out. So U N W. And then perfectly put, the fourth one will be J C K. J C K. Z L M, no, M L. All right, so that's the order. All right, so we put this in. So now that's all right. Now that you've seen how the preliminaries played out, here is the list from 20 to 1. All right. So from ranking 17 to 20, I got 43 total votes, and there was a clear winner and a clear loser. So number 20, and of course, I'm not doing the fingers until I hit 10 because, I only have two hands. Ha. Number 20 is X for extremely going downhill Radich. Now, he lost out on the letter R, and the guy who won the letter R thing is in the 17 to 20 poll. But yeah, Radich only got one vote out of 43. Actually, that vote was my vote. I actually voted because I'm like, give Radich a vote. Like, I'm going to vote for Rick. It would have been embarrassing if Radich didn't get a vote. But anyway, yeah, Radich only got one vote, my vote. So Raj was a great character from Degrassi Junior High and High. Junior High, he was the English teacher, and then in Degrassi High became the vice principal. A lot of people think he was the principal, but no, he wasn't. He was the vice principal. And then all of a sudden, he became the principal in Degrassi Community School. Looked good with the Chuck Norris look with the beard. It actually made him distinguished. Seasons 1 and 2, he wasn't that half bad as an educator. Although in season 2, he had the fight with Emma over the GMO foods debate, and both of them screwed up. Emma was being pushy and all that, but Radich was the adult situation and should have handled it like an adult. Season 3, he did the Saturday detentions. A lot of people said that that was stupid. I personally think that he could have easily thrown them into week detention throughout the week, or basically gave them suspensions, especially Toby and Jimmy Toby breaking into the school system for grades to change grades. But yeah, Raj in season 4 was just terrible. I mean, a lot of people forget, but in the first episode of season 4, before Rick comes back, Raj and Armstrong talk about the budget, and Raj says, "I just don't have the budget and all that," and he can't give supplies to his teachers. So he's having a rough go of it, and now he's letting Rick back in the school. Alex and Marco try to talk to him about this idea. And in a deleted scene, stupidly, that CTV neither nor T Nick did put in the main product, he explains that Terry's at a private school and that without a criminal charge, he can't do anything about it. Which is true, but maybe he's ducking the answer. But yeah, Radich was just terrible. He mishandled the Rick situation. I know a lot of people will be like, he mishandled Rick. He shooed Rick away and all that. The problem was Rick was not straightforward with Raj and didn't really say bullying and all that. And I think if he had implicated it, Raj would have probably believed Rick. Or even worse case scenario, he would have just said, "Well, I don't have enough proof. You need more proof." And that would have been easy to look after. Of course, Radich gets blamed by Snake about his foresight being sucky. And, I understand, Radich didn't foresee Rick about to shoot students. Nobody did, except for Rick himself. Of course, Raj gets booted. I think the school board kind of threw him under the bus, but he asked for it too. Okay, number 19 is, well, speaking of R for Rick. Rick got number 19 with 3 votes. Well, the best of the 4 people. But yeah, Rick's number 19. Rick was introduced in season 3 as a shy introverted boyfriend who liked Terry, and Terry fell in love with Rick. It seemed like okay, but Terry gets physically and emotionally abused by Rick. Now, a lot of people think that hitting the head on the rock was the incident, but people forget that there was another incident that he shoved her against a wall outside of school, and they broke up. And then during a trust exercise, they come back together, and Terry wants to bring Rick for a road trip because she knows that Jimmy is with Hazel, and Spinner and Paige will be on that trip. She doesn't want to be alone, although they said everything will be fine. Unfortunately, Rick becomes angry when Paige insults him, runs off into the woods. Terry decides to run after Rick, and unfortunately, Rick accidentally puts her head on a rock. His blood on his hands, he runs off. He runs away from Degrassi and since I thought he got expelled for it, but no, he just got pulled out of school by his parents. He probably cried crocodile tears, as he usually would. And then in season 4, he had the audacity to come back saying that I had changed and all that. It's understandable. Like, I understand Rick trying to change. But unfortunately for me, it just didn't pass the sniff test. And Rick basically sucked as a human being. The students wouldn't let him do a lot of things. And basically, Rick got painted and feathered and bullied. And he wanted revenge. So he took a gun and almost did it to Paige, but Paige calmed him down inadvertently, saving her own butt. Rick puts the gun back in his locker. Spinner and Jay trick him into things, and then Rick shoots Jimmy, nearly shoots Emma, but Sean saves the day, and Rick's dead. And a lot of people were like, what is about it? But I think the Rick Murray situation was actually good that he was dead because if he was alive, a lot of students would have been in deep shit. Number 18 is B for Becky. Becky was introduced as this goody goody Christian character who came up from Florida with her brother Luke because Luke was a ice hound, like a hockey prospect from Florida. And yeah, Florida does have hockey teams. They have the Lightning and the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, Becky came up to Florida with her Christian family and basically told to not allow LGBTQ plus people near her and all that. But she falls for Adam, who's transgender, and her family doesn't like it. Becky likes Adam, and then Adam dies in an accident and all that. I should have made Adam the A. I was thinking A for Ashley for some fucked up reason. But that's the problem with me. But nobody corrected me. So anyway, yeah, Adam was a decent character. But then, Becky started to pull away from her Christian roots thanks to Jenna. And then Becky finds out that her brother Luke had raped Zoe alongside his friend Neil and wants to prove it to the police. But of course, the Bakers try to tell Becky to lie for her brother. And even Luke says, I took a bullet for you when you lost our grandmother's ring down the sink. But then Becky said, no, the next day I came to confess. And then Luke told her that. And Becky used it against Luke. If Luke had been silent against Becky, maybe Becky would have kept quiet. But no, Luke said something. And basically, the Bakers put the freeze on her. They don't kick her out of the house. I think they were expecting some problems. And I think her dad got kicked out of the ministry for that. But yeah, Becky had a tough time in season 14 because her family just didn't want to be around her. I feel bad for her. I really do. And winning the 17 to 20 poll by a landslide. Number 17 is Liberty. L for Liberty. Hey, Liberty girlfriend. Kind of like Liberty and all that. Liberty's a decent character, and unfortunately, Degrassi did not do well with black characters at times. I will admit that. It's a white guy. But anyway, yeah, Liberty was this type A girl who just put her nose to the grindstone for her studies and all that, which is fine. And then, well, season 1, she had the crush on JT, and JT tried to say, no, I don't like you, Liberty. Liberty, of course, was involved with Armstrong, who was comforting her of her dyscalculia. Emma, unfortunately, inadvertently spread the rumor about Armstrong being close to Liberty only because Emma was bit by a catfisher. So, she should have told Liberty. She was worried about Liberty because of her being bit. But then Liberty becomes arrogant in season 2. In the one episode about the floor hockey team, she's a manager of it and does a Napoleon style stuff, even dressing like Napoleon. But of course, it pisses off the girls. Liberty has had some human moments and all that. She finally had her moment in the sun with JT in season 4 over trying to get on Radish's nerves after Radish had the audacity to cancel Dracula. So Liberty gets impregnated by JT, and unfortunately, to a lot of people, it seems that she would just rather try to hide her pregnancy than to help JT out in a sense. She gives birth to the baby, gives it up in an adoption agency, but the adopted parents moved to Seattle, and Liberty's upset, saying that she won't get to see her son. However, her parents, her cold parents, basically told her that was the agreement. You got to suck it up, Buttercup, and all that. You can kind of guess that they put the pressure on Liberty to perform well and all that. Liberty didn't really get much of a break and all that. She was very petty in season 6 with JT being with Mia and all that. And Liberty was shocked that JT actually was looking for Liberty before he got stabbed. So yeah, Liberty tried to move on from JT, but seemed not to, and all that. She had Damien, but then Damien was just a prick. But yeah, Liberty was a decent character and deserved better. Number 16 on the list, winning the and the 16 is from the 13 to 16 poll, 4 out of 44 votes was Winston. W for Winston. I couldn't think of a W character for the life of me, but yeah, Winston I'd go for because he was decent and all that. He was kind of Miles's sidekick in a sense. Winston had a good relationship with Frankie, Miles's sister, and they were boyfriend girlfriend. Winston even decided to try to out Zoe as the Degrassi Nudes person by being that mysterious figure to get Frankie back on the cheerleading squad and all that. Unfortunately, though, Frankie and Winston broke up because of Frankie falling in love with that intern in the summer movie. Winston was decent, I guess. Anyway, no. Speaking of Zoe, she ended up being number 15. Sad for Zoe. I know I could have said for Sig, but I hate that guy so much. I don't want to get into diatribe why. But Zoe was a decent character. She came into Degrassi as a former reality star whose mom and her mom wanted her to go to Paris with the rest of the Degrassi crew that was going to Paris to try to fit in and all that. She was decent and all that, but she had a thing for Miles, whereas Maya had a thing for Miles. It was a messy love triangle. So he doxed Maya badly. Maya retaliated with a song, and it's bad enough that Simpson has to suspend her and put her in a freaking rubber room. What an idiot. But I think Simpson was scared of Zoe's mom and, Zoe being a celebrity that Simpson didn't want to lose face. Idiot. But yeah, so Zoe does tell Maya about the whole Miles thing that he was evil. And unfortunately, Zoe got raped by Neil and Luke. In season 14, she becomes captain of the Power Squad, and they need new money for uniforms, so they set up this chat with the cheerleaders in sexually provocative photos, and people, even Hunter, bought it. Like, Hunter, like, that's your sister, Frankie. Good grief. So anyway, Zoe becomes the kingpin and basically forces the cheerleaders to do their share or else get kicked out like Frankie and not squeal because you're just as implicated. So Zoe does get in trouble, but only on her own accord. When she hears the fire and all these things, and then Lola talks to her, she decides to confess to the police everything. And in a sense, Zoe doing that Degrassi Nudes thing was on purpose because of the whole situation that, she was deflowered in season 13, and then in season 14, she needed to get her body back. It's understandable, I guess. But yeah, Zoe then was told to serve community service because maybe she'll get a lenient sentence, which she kind of did. Zoe got away with it, and then she turns gay all of a sudden. She did have a thing for Grace, but Grace was hetero. So anyway, Zoe is with Rasha and wants her mom to know it, but her mom refuses to believe it. And then her mom decides to kick Zoe out. It could be because of the Catholic religion, but also because, Zoe, because she came out as being gay, doesn't get the roles. And her mother basically lived through Zoe. And since Zoe wasn't getting the roles, she decided to marry someone with money. And, she was money hungry. She was a bitch. Zoe, unfortunately, would not see her mother at graduation because she refused to be there because of the shame of it. Why would you be ashamed? Like, fuck. I feel bad for Zoe, but Zoe says her friends are her family. She doesn't need her mom. Number 14 is Imogen. I for Imogen. I couldn't think of anything for I, but yeah, Imogen. Imogen was a very decent character. Now, of course, this was kind of in the era which I didn't really watch Degrassi that much, so I don't know too much about Imogen. I know she's with Fiona, and yes, Fiona is part of this list. But yeah, Imogen was a decent person. She actually wanted to be with Adam and all that. And of course, Adam died, and then Imogen wrestled with the fact that she should tell Becky about her probably being with Adam and all that. Imogen and Fiona were a decent couple, but they broke up. But yeah, Imogen kept it to herself. She didn't want Becky to suffer. And winning the 13 to 16 vote at number 13 is my girl T for Terry. Well, I call her my girl because Terry was played by Christina Schmidt, and Christina Schmidt went to high school at Waterloo Oxford District Secondary School in Baden, Ontario, Canada. Absent Canada because we got Americans probably watching. And guess who else went to Waterloo Oxford District Secondary School? That's right, this guy. So Christina Schmidt is a couple years younger than me. It shows you my age, but yeah, so she didn't really know who I was. So I think that was good. But yeah, Terry was a decent character. Season 1, she was after Spinner, but Paige made her drink too much. Terry was very insecure about things because she was overweight and all that. But she did have self confidence by being a plus size model and waving her check in front of an ice cream vendor who kind of pissed her off. Terry, unfortunately, in season 3, made a poor choice being with Rick. Of course, Rick being abusive and all that. And then getting hurt. Terry's dad basically getting mad at Spinner and Paige for not telling him what type of monster Rick really was. But then Terry's dad did apologize for everything. It just pisses me off that Terry was never seen after season 3 when after she came out of that coma. Like, it was pathetic. Like, I know maybe Terry wanted to do other things, but I think it was a network exec who basically said, we don't want Terry around. Pathetic. Do you know what Terry's role would have been in the Rick situation? If Rick was bullied, maybe Terry comes in and maybe Terry sends a message that you shouldn't be doing that to Paige and all that, and Paige would have accepted it. Yeah, Terry was basically off screen, going to a private school and all that. It was just sad that she never got any input into the whole Rick situation because it would have changed things. They did my girl Terry terrible. I fucking hate you, Degrassi, sometimes. Anyway, it's time for the 9 to 12 poll. It had 42 votes. It had two clear cut winners and all that. So number 12 with 2 votes is D for Darcy. Darcy was introduced as this goody goody Christian character and all that. Degrassi did Christianity dirty because Christian people are nosy and want to spread the faith being weird. Now Darcy's first appearance actually was when she kissed Rick only because Toby paid her to kiss Rick. Now, the rumors were circulating that Darcy and Jay were going to be brother and sister, but it could have worked out, but no. But Darcy was this holier than thou character. She liked the Spirit Squad. She liked everything. She tried to pour her Christian values on everyone. But Darcy actually was hired, quote unquote, by Spinner to help him out after Spinner lost everyone he knows and trying to gain them back in season 5. But Darcy was not as pure as you thought she was. She and Spinner broke up stupidly, and then her next boyfriend is Peter, who basically manipulates the fuck out of her. And, cries crocodile tears. Peter did not make the P because the P is for someone more better. But the fact of the matter is that Darcy stays with Peter and then leaves Peter for Kenya because of all things. But, that was good. Of course, Sinead Grimes was going to 90210 reboot. Now the question. Now, of course, season 7 was Darcy had it worse. She was roofied at a ski trip in season 7, and then she was sexually assaulted. She couldn't find her rapist, and she self-loathed and wanted to cut her wrist in the shower. Fortunately, though, Manny saves her from harm, and then she wants to jump off the roof because Darcy made the inappropriate accusations to Simpson because Simpson called Darcy's mom in for a meeting, and Darcy didn't want to tell the truth about her being raped and all that. Why she's being a bitch. So she gets Snake into major trouble. And then after realizing what she had done and all that, she decides to jump off the roof. But Manny again saves her butt. And Darcy goes to tell everyone the truth, even though it doesn't get Simpson back to school right off the bat. Darcy goes to a brat camp and then finally decides to let it out about her rapist. And she becomes a better person and then goes to Kenya. I still say it's not really her idea. It was her parents' idea because they just wanted to get rid of her for being stupid. Number 11 and just missing the top 10 is A for Ashley. I know I should have said Adam. I feel bad about myself. And no one corrected me on it. But yeah, A for Ashley. Ashley was going to be a breakout star in season 1. I think she was taking a lot of the heat off Emma, like saying that Ashley was the breakout character. But no, she took ecstasy in season 1 at the end, and then basically everyone ignores her. She tries to make a concentrated effort in season 2 to fix the situation, but Paige, using her Queen Bee status, basically made Ashley an outcast and told Hazel and Terry to stick with her or else they would be outcast too. And unfortunately, Hazel and Terry followed Paige, and Ashley turned scoff because no one likes her and all that. Jimmy doesn't like her that way. Ashley then slips into bad news in season 3. She wants to be with Craig, and of course, Craig. Did I make Craig C for Craig or no? No, C for Claire. Well, anyway, C for Craig, but I couldn't do it, Craig. There was a better C character. I kind of spelled it. Damn it. Well, regardless. So anyway, Ashley in season 3 is in love with Craig, but he's in a love triangle with Manny, and Ashley finds out that Craig and Manny are planning a baby and then announces it to everyone in the calf. She had every right to. She was a jilted lover. And then Ashley writes this song to go after Craig, and it works, but then Craig writes a sappy ballad and wins Ashley back. Ashley Paige was right. Ashley should never have been near Craig because Ashley had every right to get on Craig's nerves and to actually win out. But no, she went back to Craig for some off reason. Season 4, her father's gay wedding and all that. And then Craig has his bipolar issues. But she sticks by Craig until she goes to England with her dad and puts Craig in the boiler room, if you will. She comes back unexpectedly in season 6 to try to fix things up with Jimmy and all that. But unfortunately, though, she became a little petty. And a lot of people think that way. So that's what it. Number 10. Now I can use the fingers. Number 10, with 15 votes in the 9 to 12 poll, is E for Emma. You really think it was going to be E for Esme? Don't blame you, but E for Emma. Come on, the first main character of the next gen era. Come on, it had to be Emma. I know a lot of people have to hate on Emma. I see a lot of Emma hate posts on Reddit. I even did a thing about Emma being overhated. But the fact of the matter is, Emma asked for it in a sense. She was nosy. She wanted to butt into people's business for the first 3.5 seasons, if you will. That was her main character, her modus operandi, if you will. Yeah, trying to get causes, like trying to prevent Manny from joining the Spirit Squad because she thinks cheerleading is sexist. Although Paige says that, we're going to have boys on our team. That's not sexist. That's gender. It's not gender. It's sexism. And thinks that Manny's going to be taken advantage of if she's on Spirit Squad. I don't blame Emma for that, being worried, but Manny's her own character. She, of course, gets involved with Liberty being with Armstrong and all that. But it was because Emma in the first ever episode was catfished. And she couldn't just tell Liberty about the fact she was catfished and all that. Because she was uncomfortable. Like, she was looking out for Liberty, but caused a lot of trouble. Season 2, she had issue with Snake being in her life, dating Spike, her mom. I mean, what kid would want their teacher dating their parent? So the fact of the matter is that Emma didn't seem happy about it and almost broke him up, but then relented and then, you know, told Snake about Spike trying to abort baby Jack and all that. Of course, Spike's not too happy with it, but Snake says at least someone was an adult about it. And Emma almost ruined the wedding by just not letting it go. And then, of course, the GMO food thing I talked about with Radish. Yeah, she did some fault. And yes, Radish did some fault, but nobody won in the end. Nobody. Emma was just basically, season 2 was the worst, the most triggered by a character ever in Degrassi. Fight me on that. Season 3, she had the problems with Sean moving on to the Candy Bandits and being petty about it and almost losing Chris in the process. But, she lost Chris in the end, like during the summer, and then was upset in season 4 when Liberty has eyes on Chris and basically wants to prevent Chris and Liberty from going out because it will affect her. How the hell would that affect Emma? And why would you care, Emma? Because after all, people shit all over your causes and crusades, and yet you still do them. So yeah, that's what happened. She lost her friends. She lost a lot of people by protecting Rick, quote unquote, protecting Rick, if you will, during the whole not back in black, Mercy Street thing. And then, she found herself at Rick's mercy because, Rick had the affection for Emma with the creepy hand holding, this is for you, and then kissing her while being painted and feathered. Of course, Emma having the gun pointed at her because Rick was upset that Emma jilted him and all that. And Emma's guilt and all that, it just triggered something in Emma that she turned into zombie Emma. She ended up going to the ravine with Jay, getting jelly bracelets and all that shit. Like, it just wasn't Emma. And, trauma just ruined her and all that. It was a situation she tried to fix, but she couldn't. And she basically didn't tell anyone. She internalized everything. Season 5, of course, she wanted to be with Peter, but was upset that Manny was with Peter, even though that the nude photos came. She was mad at Manny for trying to steal her man. Emma says, I need somebody. Well, after Sean kind of left for Wasaga Beach. You could tell that Emma wanted Sean. Because after all, Sean saved her life. I don't blame her. And then she takes Manny in when her parents kick her out. And then she has an eating disorder in season 5 because of trauma to do with Snake being with Hatsalakos, her secretly being with Peter, and yeah, the Rick situation added a layer. And then all of a sudden, Emma in season 6 has Sean come back. She ends up in a love triangle with Peter, of course. Peter trying to prevent Sean from being with Emma because he's envious. Emma breaks off with Peter, although it was probably because if anything inconvenienced someone else, Emma didn't bat an eye. But when it inconveniences her, she gives a shit. And then that starts her chain of bad boyfriends being with Sean in season 6 again. But then all of a sudden, Sean leaves for the army. Emma has a fake pregnancy. And then she goes with Damien in season 7 because Damien got to her. And then Kelly in 8 and 9 before they both broke up with her. And don't get me started on Emma's friendship with Manny. It was a toxic relationship. Trust me. Everyone says it's toxic. I agree. Emma basically was worried about Manny. She wanted to protect Manny from herself, but ended up being a bitch. So Emma, season 6, the whole thing with JT, it was guilt. Like, I don't condone what Emma did, but Emma was upset that Manny was leaving her, and she felt the need for a friend because she felt alone dealing with the JT situation. It happened at a party that should never have been thrown right at Emma's house. Emma had the right to feel guilty and all that. Guilt just doesn't do that well. So yeah, Emma, the first main character. Number 9 with 22 votes was JT. J for JT. Of course, J for Jeff, but whatever. So JT was the class clown and all that. He was a decent person. He was a terrible friend to Toby, no matter what you think. Yeah, he wanted to be in Paige's group more and dump Toby off and all that. Especially season 4, he dumps Toby off to be with Danny, or Liberty's brother, if you will, and that puts Toby easily into the arms, I guess, the arms of Rick. So JT was a little immature and all that, especially with Hatzlakos. JT was told off by Manny about the fact that Toby was loyal, and if you didn't dump him off for Webster, her name for Danny, then he would not have needed Rick. So JT tries to be a good friend to Toby, but becomes a prick at times. Toby deserved better. JT, has a relationship with Liberty, and as I said, impregnates her, tries to find a way to fix things, and then gets a job as a pharmaceutical assistant. But Jay just has to pop up, that piece of shit. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. Jay does that, and then, he gets in the drug trade. He takes drugs to get himself out of the situation because he knows what he has done. He's spiraling out of control. He was going to go to jail, maybe, for stealing the Xanax or whatever you want to call it. No, the Oxycontin, excuse me. But yeah, and then he gravitates towards uh, Mia with Isabella, not realizing he's starting a Lakehurst Degrassi feud and all that. And then JT gets stabbed in the aorta by Drake Lampley because he wouldn't leave things alone with Mia. Even though that he wanted to break off with Mia for Liberty, and probably knowing that if he stops seeing Mia, then the feud will stop happening. Kind of pathetic. So, yeah, poor JT got stabbed. A lot of people said, why are we praising JT? He was just a class clown. But he was meaningful. And he matured throughout the years and all of that. Of course, then I learned last year that Ryan Cooley was not dismissed, did not dismiss himself because he went to university and wanted to be killed off of Corey faction. Someone from CTV wanted him dead. Wanted to get rid of him. Idiots. All right, so time for 5 to 8. And the loser of the 5 to 8 poll at number 8 is C for Claire. I can understand why people didn't really want Claire up there. But yeah, Claire is number 8. Claire to me was a pretty good character and all that. She was supposed to be the spiritual ancestor to Emma, like predecessor to Emma. Successor to Emma. Being the main character, full of causes, full of a lot of things. Claire was introduced as Darcy's sister in season 6 and 7, and then she's allowed to go to Degrassi only to learn because her parents try to make sure that Claire is not like Darcy and sexually promiscuous, whatever you want to call it. Claire is questioning a vibrator that her mom had and all that, and then her mom had to have a sex talk with her, embarrassingly, of course. Claire wearing the same uniform every day, but then when Connor gets kicked out for being quote unquote different, although Connor did some bad stuff, I will say that. She takes it up with Shep, saying kids with special needs aren't freaks, and you're a little bitch. Of course, that was played at the Shep's Principal of the Year thing. I still don't get why Shep was Principal of the Year. Like, dude only did a football team, and he was only principal for like 3 or 4 years, months. Maybe it was because of his Lakers time. Maybe it was because they wanted to go with Degrassi, but with Hatzlakos on sabbatical, and I finally got that word right, they had to give it to somebody. Claire outs him. He gets put into sensitive training, and we think Claire is going to be using her powers for good. But then she stops doing that, in a sense. She loses Casey to Jenna. She gets all these storylines, and a couple days ago I talked about the top 10 Claire storylines. Like Claire brooding over Eli, having her parents split, joining a weed cult because her parents couldn't agree on who should take her. She had a relationship with Jake, but that had to break up because Claire's mom married Jake's dad, and they're step siblings now. Trying to figure out Eli having cancer on her back, sarcoma on her back with that lump. Having a baby, losing the baby in the first miscarriage in Degrassi history. Dealing with Pill trying to interfere with things and then smashing up all those cameras. Pill asked for it, and then it brought Claire back to what they wanted it to be, Emma's successor. Girl went through so many storylines, it was sickening. Cancer, being accosted by her magazine editor, and being with Drew. I'm forgetting a lot. Okay, so number 8 on the list with 9 votes is M for Maya. I was actually shocked she actually didn't win the 5 to 8 poll or even take second. But yeah, Maya was this cello virtuoso introduced in what, season 11 as Katie's sister. And then in season 12, she came in her own. She fell in love with Cam. Unfortunately, she was in love with Sig as well. Messy love triangle. Sig getting on Cam's nerves and basically Maya protecting Sig in front of, and not Cam, and Cam getting in trouble, and then Cam stealing Maya's stuffed doll Hoot after apologizing for everything and wants to give it back to Maya. Unfortunately, though, Sig sees this and wants Cam out of Maya's life forever. Unfortunately, though, it leads him to kill himself in a sense, in a gory fashion. The way I look at it is maybe he took chemicals from the J.T. York Memorial Greenhouse and then slashed himself. Because as someone who's worked in a garden center for the past 3 summers, I should know about toxicity, about chemicals, and all that stuff. So the fact of the matter is that Maya feels bad about it, even though she says that Cam was selfish for killing himself and she would have helped. And she had the right idea. She still was kicking herself over Cam's death and all that. In season 14, it proved it. Her her getting through with Miles was actually a way of her trying to alleviate her guilt over the Cam situation from a few years prior. Well, that's seasons prior, I should say. She may have been overprotective and nosy, but she did it with a purpose. Especially with Tristan, she was looking out for Tristan, and then all of a sudden Tristan decided not to be around Maya, saying that Maya was jealous. No, Maya was trying to protect Tristan from Yates. Tristan was a piece of garbage, that piece of shit. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. Anyway, barking myself through Maya, never forgot Cam, and it ate her, especially in season 14. She does get Miles out of trouble with his dad, and basically she smiles and thinks that she's cured. Not so much. The next season, the next class, she gets cyber attacked by Hunter in the gaming club. She becomes part of the feminist group and targeted by Hunter because Goldie made Maya the mouthpiece for the feminist club. And then, of course, unknowingly getting Maya almost shot by Hunter if Miles didn't interfere. Maya then goes through a bus crash at the end of season 2 of Next Class, and then death all around her. She feels responsible, and then she falls down the rabbit hole that she still had with Cam. Her depression never went away. She almost kills herself by ingesting pills and all that. But thankfully, Sig and Esme save her butt, and then she spends the last year of Next Class recovering and being with Sig, inadvertently, of course. So that's what you got. And then, of course, you got yourself, the fact that Maya was a good character. Nosy as she was well-meaning. More well-meaning than Emma, I should say that much. Right here, right now. Okay, so number 6, excuse me. Number 6 on the list with 13 votes was Fiona. Fiona, F for Fiona. Now, of course, this was the era that I didn't really do Degrassi that much, so I don't know much about Fiona. I know she had a twin named Declan. She was introduced in season 9, pissing off Claire for a moment, and then Fiona was really hatred of Holly J being alongside Declan, so she tried everything in her power to prevent those two from being there, even kissing Declan for twin cest, if you will, but it didn't work out that way. And then Fiona had a loving interest with Imogen, which was great. But Fiona also had an abusive boyfriend named Bobby, and then she drank to try to forget it. And then she almost ruins herself as a witness at Bobby's court date. But thankfully, Bobby gets caught. But then Fiona is unreliable and all that. She goes through rehab and all that stuff. She bumps into Drew and all that. She lives with Drew at a flat. And then for some reason, Fiona has the lust for Holly J, and even helps Holly J out when Holly J has to get $20,000 for a kidney from her birth mother. I'll explain that when I talk about Holly J. But yeah, Fiona buys a dress and saves Holly J's butt and has the hots for Holly J. I think that she may have been jealous of Holly J being with Declan because she wanted Holly J. I don't know. And number 5, winning the 5 to 8 poll is Paige. P for Paige. Queen bee. She was annoying as a queen bee at times, but she could be quite nice and quite easily attracted, if you will. Season 2, she ends up being raped by Dean from Bartell and all that. She has troubles going through the motions and then finally decides to press charges on Dean. Enough was enough. Season 3, she helps Ellie out with her cutting. Ellie was cutting herself because of the stress of having an alcoholic mother and a father who was a colonel in Afghanistan, which was a big war back in the day. So yeah, Paige helps Ellie out and all that. Paige was okay, but in season 4, her world came crashing down completely. First off was the fact that she had her rape trial with Dean. She almost pulls it off, saying no way. But Spinner tells her, you gotta testify. So Paige does, and unfortunately Dean gets away with it, even though Dean admits it in a sense. And then, Paige has a good, powerful testimony. But unfortunately, because of lack of evidence, she's ruined, and that's the justice system for you. Even nowadays, like it was 20 years ago when Paige went through this, but it still happens today, which is pathetic. Even Dean's lawyer was shocked. Dean's lawyer was there to help protect Dean, but then she actually felt sorry for her. But yeah, Paige decides to crash Spinner's car into Dean's car as a revenge. And then, she has the problem with Rick coming back to Degrassi and causing trouble, and no one wants to give a crap about it. So Paige and Emma come up with an orange ribbon campaign to fix the situation, but unfortunately, no one wants to care, in a sense. But yeah, it turns into a domestic violence and a beating on Rick and all that. Paige did the right thing by excusing herself from the Rick situation, not being a bully for Rick much longer than it should be. Paige, of course, calms Rick down, inadvertently saving her own ass, all that. And then Paige having the problems with Spinner, not because of Spinner, being the guy who kind of alerted Rick towards Jimmy. But no, Spinner was actively having goo goo eyes on Manny while being Paige, and Paige is trying to pay Spinner back money of his broken car and all that. Spinner was a dick. And worst of all, in season 4 was Olander. She basically played with Olander, even though he's a teacher assistant, and that was wrong. And Olander had the nuts or the balls to basically say that Paige was the bad guy in the situation. Fortunately, though, Snake didn't believe Olander, and Olander finally decided to tell the truth. Even though Paige wanted to leave Degrassi, wanted to transfer out. She didn't want this situation. But come on. It seemed like she was protecting him. Why? And then Olander fucking dumps her off and gives her weed as a parting gift. She unfortunately decides to go towards Alex. It's a decent thing. Maybe Paige was bi and she had feelings of being bisexual and all that. But yeah, to me, it felt like she was turning to Alex because she couldn't trust guys. And she had every right to not trust guys. But, Paige and Alex, it was a decent relationship, but, the class system kind of ruined it. And then Griffin has sex with her, but he's HIV positive. Thankfully, I don't think Paige had the condition because she would have suffered massively. And then Paige, by the Degrassi Goes Hollywood movie, we find out that she's a dog walker for a reality star. So she has just basically gone low. I mean, her panic attacks in season 6 were terrible too. Like, college life just doesn't fit in with Paige. And she had to go back to Toronto with her tail between her legs. But yeah, I feel bad for Paige and all that character assassination and all that. Okay, so it's top 4 time, and the top 4 got 54 votes. It was actually pretty close in a sense. There wasn't a clear cut winner or a clear cut loser. Well, anyway, number 4 in the 1 to 4 poll, S for Sean. Actually, not really S for Sean. Oh, sorry. It wasn't really M for Maya. It was actually U for understandably depressed Maya, and Q for quite the character, Sean. I felt Sean was a good character. I could have just said Snake. I should have, but Sean was a good character. He was introduced in the 3rd episode of season 1 as someone coming into school, and Emma feeling for him, and then Sean having a thug life and then being insulted by Jimmy for skipping or losing a grade and all that. Sean beats up on Jimmy, and then unfortunately Emma gets into it, and Sean bumps Emma. Well, of course, Jimmy also took a game-winning shot away from Sean in basketball because he was being a dick and was on Spinner's ADHD medication. So the fact of the matter is that Sean and Emma were broken up, and then Sean comes back into Emma's life in season 2. He almost went with Ashley, but Paige prevented it from that. And then in season 3, he had the audacity to join Jay's Candy Bandits and leave Emma high and dry. Emma had a lot to deal with in season 3. I mean, her stepfather had leukemia, and she had a baby brother to take care of. Pressure was on. And Sean did not like it that Emma couldn't hang out with him and called him pathetic, too. So Sean stole stuff to spite Emma, especially Snake's laptop. So anyway, Sean gets in trouble for insulting Raj, put inside detention, but then he connects with Ellie, who's another lost soul, and that relationship works out quite well. Sean and Ellie and all that. Sean kind of leaves the Candy Bandits behind. And then in season 4, they're still together. And then Sean inadvertently causes a commotion by telling Jay not to tell Raj about the spray paint cars that Rick did because it would incriminate Jay. Of course, Sean had no clue that it would get Jay into a rage and then turn things up to 11 with the spray paint and feathers thing. Sean is then seen walking with Toby and Emma, but then Rick finds them and then points the gun at Emma. Sean does the right thing and what a police officer should do and try to calm the situation down, but Rick sees through it. But Sean wrestles for Rick's gun, shoots, and we think that Sean's hurt. But no, it was Rick who was dead, and Sean may have killed him. Sean's hailed as a hero, rightfully so, and basically everyone wants him to open up. He refuses to, but then he finally opens up to his parents who made that interview with that nosy reporter, Rachel. So practically, Sean goes back to Wasaga to try to confront them, and then meets Tyler, the boy he deafened that got him to Toronto in the first place. Falls off a water ski, and then Tyler saves his life, and then Sean realizes a thing and has an epiphany of things and stays at Wasaga to deal with his PTSD because he killed that kid and was worried. I think Sean was definitely worried that the police were going to go after him, but the police would have definitely went after him the day after, or that preventing him from leaving Toronto. So yeah, he comes back in season 6 to break up Pema. I think that was perfectly placed because I think a lot of internet hate was on Peter and Emma being together, and I don't blame him one freaking bit. So yeah, so he fawns over Emma. He should have been with Ellie, I will admit that. But yeah, so Sean's in the love triangle with Emma and Peter. Emma gets Sean in the end, thanks to Peter's stupidity. And then Sean decides to join the army because he has nothing left because Peter got him kicked out of Degrassi for the fake drugs, even though that Sean had every right to go back. Snake actually was going to help Sean, but Sean said it's no use. It could have worked. It could have easily worked. But then that's what happens. So anyway, that's what happens, and Sean leaves for the army and then comes back randomly in season 7 for one episode, and that's it. Sean and Emma were definitely endgame. Number 3 on the list is Spitter. S for Spinner. Spitter, was a classic bully and all that. His friendship with Jimmy was pretty bad and all that. Spinner was jealous of Jimmy getting all these nice things, and he had to struggle. All that class system and all that. Spinner was a jerk in a sense, but season 4 took the cake. Like, I know that he was mad about Rick coming back to Degrassi, and he had every right to. He saw Terry's prone body and Rick with blood on his hands and wanted to go after Rick, but Rick's mom stopped Spinner from doing so. He had every right to get angry and all that, but the way he did it was terrible. Not to mention him, like, dangling his broken car in front of Paige like a carrot, and then going out with Manny while the whole Rick situation is going on, too. Spinner's decides to, well, Spinner's part of the group to paint and feather Rick, alongside Jay and Alex. He brags about it to Jimmy and then realizes what he's done, tells Jay, oh God, no, Raj knows. Because, well, if you don't see the deleted scene, you'll automatically assume that Spinner's like, oh crap, crap, Jimmy's going to knock on me to Radish. But the deleted scene says that, he made chicken noises to Rick and then Raj caught him and wanted him to meet at 3:30 for a serious talk. So then Spinner plays along with Jay's joke, not realizing that Rick had a gun and shot Jimmy and all that. And then he wanted to come clean to the police, but Jay prevents him from that. Spinner keeps quiet for 3 months. The entire time, Jimmy has to recover, and then finally blurts it out to Jimmy because he felt like Jimmy deserved it. I mean, what would have happened if it found out? If Jimmy found out other avenues, he would have been Spinner would have been in jail. But yeah, Spinner gets rightfully shunned by the school and all that stuff. He gets expelled, zero tolerance. Where the fuck was that? For a few other things, Hatzelackles. I think she was just trying to please the school board. Spinner is allowed to come back in season 5, but is put on a short leash. He vows to make things happen. And when his friend's back, he bides his time, and it works for whole season 5. He even enlists Darcy's help and breaks off with Jay, which was, I think, a lot of people liking that. Spinner got testicular cancer in season 7 and fought it, and then, all that, and then ends up marrying Emma, which was so stupid. It should have been Spinner going with Jane, not with Emma. Okay, number 2 with 16 votes, who lost the 1-4 poll, is H for Holly J. And Holly J was a decent character and all that. And yeah, Holly J was a great character. Of course, this was at the time I stopped watching Degrassi, stupidly. But yeah, Holly J was introduced in season 7 as one of the Lakehurst students that had to go to Degrassi because of the fire. She was a bit pushy. She was manipulative of Anya. Poor Anya, basically dressing like Holly J. Holly J throwing Anya under the bus so many times because, as Holly J says, you let me bully you. Are you fucking nuts, Holly J? And I thought that, and she was the sister of Heather Sinclair. Heather, I wish someone had told her, you know what? Heather Sinclair may be a queen bee, but she was nicer than you, and she's better than you. And then Holly J would have probably felt terrible. But yeah, Holly J is a hot little number, as described by Shep in season 8, wins the presidency for student council without a vote because Shep had the hots for her. And then, she was manipulating Anya in season 10 to help her win again, but Anya turned it around on Holly J, rightfully so. Holly J had to come in. And then Holly J ends up getting cancer. Not cancer. Wow, what am I doing? Kidney problems in season 11 because she avoided strep throat that led to kidney problems. I doubt that highly. It was going to be that way. And then she needed $20,000. Well, her family was poor, like they were losing money because of a government investigation. And then she needed $20,000. Her birth mother wanted $20,000 for it because she had to recover. She had 2 kids, and what are you going to do? You have to take months off to recover from donating your kidney. Fiona saves the day and all that. Holly J got put in her place, rightfully so. And winning the 1-4 vote with 20 votes out of 54 is M for Manny. I kind of figured that was going to be the winner because, after all, Manny is the queen of Degrassi and all that. I knew that was going to happen. You all knew that was going to happen. Come on, you really think it wasn't going to happen? But yeah, Manny was definitely the one and all that. So yeah, Manny ended up being the winner of the poll, rightfully so. So yeah, Manny is an icon and all that you can see, and then you love it. Yeah, Manny was this character. She had a bit of a character development that she was pushed by Emma a lot. She would try to sexualize herself in season 3. She didn't want to be cute. She wanted to be hot for Sully, and wore the thong outside the pants. JT was wanting after Manny and all that, and crashed himself twice into things. But yeah, Manny had self-esteem issues. Her father was controlling. Her mother was not helpful at all. Her mother was a little more submissive to her husband's needs. And the fact of the matter is that Manny deserved better. The fact also is that Manny was okay and all that. So yeah, she was supposed to have a brother, but no. Anyway, Manny gets impregnated by Craig in season 3 in the love triangle with Ashley. She decides to abort it and doesn't get much help from people. Emma But Emma protects Manny by telling Craig, who was upset by this announcement, that if she wasn't my best friend, I'd be furious. I thought they broke up as friends. I guess they made things up, made it up. Of course, Manny and Emma's relationship was terrible, and everyone knows that. The fact of the matter is that, Emma did the right thing by stepping up and helping Manny out. Manny didn't feel bad about the abortion, although, she had second thoughts. She wanted to be with Craig so many times it hurt her self esteem and all of that. She put JT in his place during the Rick situation by saying that Toby was loyal to you, and if you hadn't dumped Toby off, he would never have gone towards Rick. So yeah, Manny in season 5 was kicked out of her house for a variety of things, especially using her father's credit card for breast surgery to try to get more roles and all that. For acting, her father did not like her acting and all that. I can understand that, but he just basically wanted to disown his daughter. And of course, as I said, Manny's mom was submissive and didn't want to piss off her husband. Manny goes to live with Emma, who realizes the error of her ways, and they become there. But Manny was back home after the JT situation because Manny's parents were worried about Manny being in a war zone, even though it hurt Emma dearly. And Emma tried to keep Manny around as a friend, but overreacted. Manny then was with Spitter in season 4, broke up with him because of the whole Rick situation, rightfully so. She had a few terrible boyfriends, including Mick, her college professor in season 8. That's illegal, man. And Mick really ruined her. Manny has self-esteem issues, but she's still queen of Degrassi, and everyone knows it, especially me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.